You're not actually addicted to gambling or gaming. I mean, you are, but that's not what's really going on. If no one's told you that yet, that's a strong indication of why you're still stuck. I'm Phil Shea, addictions counselor. I work specifically with men dealing with gambling and gaming addiction. And in this video, I want to show you the actual mechanism keeping you trapped. Not willpower, not discipline, something subtler than those and a lot harder to see when you're inside of it. Here's what I see over and over. You've been spending hours, sometimes most of the day, gambling or gaming. And when you finally stop, there's this moment where you look around and realize you have no idea what day it is. The week blurs. Mentally, you've been on a different planet. There are people you've been meaning to call back, plans you said yes to and then excused yourself from. Someone asked how you're doing and you gave them the typical response, one that ends the conversation before it can begin. Because the real answer is complicated and you're not sure you want to start explaining. So you stay in, where it's easier, where nobody's going to ask the wrong questions or notice something is off. The gambling or the game is right there, and for a little while it fills the void. That feeling of staying hidden, it feels like relief, but it's not. It's actually the thing that's keeping you stuck, and here's why. When you cut yourself off from people, real contact, not just existing in the same room, the emotional weight you're already carrying doesn't go anywhere, it increases. There's no conversation to dilute it, no one accidentally pulling you out of your own head. It's just you, the discomfort, and whatever you use to turn down the volume. That's the loop. Isolation makes the pain more intense. Intense pain drives you toward what numbs it, which is the very thing that pulls you further from people, increasing the pain. And around the vicious cycle you go. The gambling or gaming itself isn't the problem. It's what's holding the problem at bay. I know that might be uncomfortable to hear, because it means you can't just stop the behavior and expect things to change. The isolation and emptiness also has to be addressed. If you're watching this and you recognize yourself in what I just described, there's a link in the description to book a free call with me. 15 minutes, we'll talk about what's actually going on and what a next step might look like. No pitch, no pressure, the link's below. There's a concept I keep going back to from leadership research. The idea that nothing changes by accident. Growth, any kind of growth, starts with a deliberate decision to move towards something, not just away from something. Moving away from something is a dead man's goal, because even a dead man can achieve it. Right now, think about the last time someone invited you out and you found a reason to say no. Maybe you were tired. Maybe you just didn't have it in you. Maybe you told yourself you'd catch them next time. That moment, which felt totally reasonable at the time, is where the noose tightens. Not in some dramatic rock bottom moment, but right there in that not tonight. The opposite of the last example isn't some grand gesture, it's sending a text that says, hey, want to grab a coffee this week? That's it. That's the intentional move. Small, yes. Almost embarrassingly so. But it puts something in the loop that wasn't there before. Here's something nobody tells you about reconnecting. You don't need to explain yourself first. You might be carrying shame around where you've been, how much you've pulled back, and what you've let slide. And part of the reason you stay isolated is that being around people feels like risk. Like they might see through you or ask you something you can't answer honestly, that they might see you fully in your shame. But real connection doesn't start with full disclosure. It starts with presence. Showing up for a walk, sitting with somebody over coffee and not talking about any of this at all, just being somewhere that isn't your room with a person who isn't on a screen. That's how trust gets rebuilt, including trust in yourself. It's not one big conversation where everything comes out. Small, repeated moments of showing up are what fosters growth and connection. Making plans and keeping them, being someone who can be counted on for the minor things first. Over time, that changes how you see yourself, and it disrupts the loop. Think about the version of yourself from a few years ago, from before all these current problems began, or maybe a version of yourself that you'd like to be. How does that person spend his time? Who does he show up for? What does he actually do with a Saturday, and what are his values? Because the version of yourself you're building right now, the one who stays in, who cancels, who's a little harder to reach every month, that's also a legacy. That's also who you're becoming. As Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. So the change into being someone you don't recognize won't happen overnight, but these small away moves compound, taking you further from who you'd like to be. Slowly, quietly, the distance between who you are and who you want to be gets harder to close. The question isn't whether you can change. Of course you can. The real questions are whether that change is for the better and whether you'll wait until things are significantly worse before you let anyone in. So, all you need to get the ball rolling toward a better life is one small move. Not a program or a rehab, not a commitment to overhaul your life by Friday, just one small gesture toward another person this week. A text. saying yes to something you'd normally bail on, showing up somewhere you've been meaning to go back to. That's where recovery starts. As Johann Hari put it, the opposite of addiction is connection. And if you want help figuring out what that actually looks like for your specific situation, what's in the way, what realistic first steps are, I'm Phil Shea, and you can book a free call with me through a link below. It's a conversation, not a sales pitch. Come as you are, and as always, have a great day.